everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to a very special edition of the Progressive Rock and Metal Album Review Series. And today I'm going to be taking a look at the amazing and impressive catalogue from one of the greatest bands ever in the progressive metal genre and one of my all-time favourites, the one and only legendary progressive metal band Dream Theater. And this is part 3 of a 4-part special where I'm going to be discussing each different decade of Dream Theater's catalogue of albums. And this is a follow-up to the last one that I did, where I discussed all of Dream Theater's catalogue of albums from 2002 to 2009. And for today's special edition, which is part 3, I am going to be discussing all of Dream Theater's albums from 2011 to 2021. So, as we know already, Dream Theater was formed in 1985 by Mike Portnoy, John Petrucci and John Myung, and they were originally called Majesty before changing their name to Dream Theater. And after various different incarnations and several personnel changes with members coming in and out, Dream Theater would eventually settle with what many consider to be the definitive and ultimate lineup of Dream Theater, comprised of Mike Portnoy, John Petrucci, John Myung, James LaBrie, and Jordan Rudess, who joined the band at the end of the 90s after replacing Derek Sherinian. And this incarnation is considered by many to be the classic Dream Theater lineup as they headed into the 2000s and put out some of their darkest, most heaviest, and finest music ever. And after the release of Black Clouds and Silver Linings in 2009, Mike Portnoy would shock the entire world and the band by deciding to leave to pursue his own musical ventures, and he would put out several albums with a variety of different supergroups and different bands, and this would leave Dream Theater without a drummer for the first time in over 25 plus years. And the big question that everybody asked was, is this the end of Dream Theater? Can they carry on? Can they find another drummer? And if they did, can they do what Mike Portnoy did? Can they follow Mike Portnoy? And after auditioning several top drummers, they finally chose drummer Mike Mangini as Mike Portnoy's replacement, and he would remain the band's drummer for well over 13 years. And it was a shock. As a Dream Theater fan, I'm not going to lie, it was a huge shock and a major blow. To me, Mike Portnoy leaving Dream Theater, that would be like Chris Squire leaving Yes. It's such a major blow. And obviously, Mike Portnoy was the one that really started all of this, and he's been like the major creative force behind the band. So to have essentially their main guy leave was devastating, and most bands wouldn't even recover from that. And obviously, Mike Mangini had his share of harsh critics. Oh, he's not Mike Portnoy. Oh, he's not technically as good. Personally, for me, I thought Mike Mangini was a great choice. No, he's not Mike Portnoy, but then I wouldn't expect him to be. He's very much his own man. He brings his own style. He brings his own voice. And, Dream Theater could have had any of the best drummers in the world. But there was just something about Mike Mangini. He just seemed like a natural fit. And he worked really well. And obviously, he had some very big shoes to fill. But I thought he filled those shoes fantastically. I thought he did an excellent job. And I got to see Dream Theater in 2011 at High Voltage, which was my first ever Dream Theater gig. I still to this day haven't seen Dream Theater with Mike Portnoy, but I was still getting to see Dream Theater anyway, so it was a big deal for me. So I was very curious to see how Mike Mangini would fare playing with these guys, and I believe this was Dream Theater's first London gig. Prior to Mangini joining, they hadn't really played in London with him. So this was a first for me. And to Mike Mangini's credit, he was fantastic. He played great. He matched up very well with the guys. And it just seemed like he had been playing with the band for years. It didn't look like he seemed out of place. He obviously brought his own style to the music. He didn't try to copy Mike Portnoy. He had his own voice, and I really appreciated and respected that. Obviously, you had some fans who were like, "Oh, I don't care about Dream Theater anymore. If Portnoy's not in the band anymore, why should I bother?" I wasn't one of those guys because I like to give everyone a chance. I like to make my own opinion when I see something. And obviously, we hadn't seen Mike Mangini with Dream Theater prior to him joining, so there wasn't really much to compare. It's not like we saw any footage. This was the first time ever Dream Theater were playing live with their new drummer. And of course, I'm not going to lie, I missed Mike Portnoy in the band, just like anyone. But I'm hardly going to go out of my way to slam their replacement, whoever it may be. Obviously, for example, some people were upset that Kevin Moore left Dream Theater, but Derek Sherinian stepped into his shoes and did a fantastic job on the keyboards. Or when Derek Sherinian was gone from Dream Theater and Jordan Rudess replaced him. Obviously, there were some people who were a little bit bummed out that Derek Sherinian was gone, but Jordan Rudess did a fantastic job. So I'm one of those people. I'm a fan of the music. I'm a fan of the band. Obviously, you're sad that certain members leave, but at the same time, you're more curious about, okay, who can replace this person? Who can follow what they did? And Mangini did exactly that. Did he try to copy Mike Portnoy? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to. Did he do a great job? Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, Dream Theater did what they always do. When they lose one of their men, they soldier on and march forward and try and do the best they can, not just for the band, but most importantly, for the fans. And it was different. I'm not going to lie. It took a bit of getting used to seeing Dream Theater without Mike Portnoy. But eventually, I got used to it. I accepted Mike Mangini pretty fast as the band's new drummer, and I was very curious to see where they were going to head next musically. Now, in terms of the music with Mangini, it was still classic Dream Theater, but different. Now, prior to Mike Portnoy leaving the band, Dream Theater's music got a lot more darker and a lot more heavier. But with Mike Mangini now in the band, they kind of dropped a lot of the heaviness and opted for more of a traditional progressive metal style of sound. But you could still hear all of the classic influences that made Dream Theater so legendary, but you just didn't have all that heaviness that dominated the last few albums. And Dream Theater with Mike Mangini achieved some very big success. They actually won their first Grammy Award. So they had some pretty high profile, successful albums under their belts. And, you know, obviously you could argue that, well, Mike Portnoy, when he was in Dream Theater, they weren't as successful. They were very successful. It was just now with Mangini in the band, it was just in a different direction. And their success was well deserved. To get a Grammy Award for the first time is a pretty big deal. So obviously, that really helped boost Dream Theater's profile even more. And they went on to have some massive success with Mangini. And this Dream Theater lineup comprised of James LaBrie, Jordan Rudess, John Myung, John Petrucci, and Mike Mangini would last for over 13 years, which is probably the longest serving lineup in the band's history. You know, it's pretty impressive to have virtually the same group of guys last for that long. It's pretty amazing. And during that time, from 2011 to 2021, Dream Theater put out some excellent music, and obviously it did sound a little bit different to what they did with Portnoy, but it was still, as I said earlier, classic Dream Theater. So, as always, I am going to be talking about each album individually, and I'll be choosing which one I think is the best one. And as I said previously in part two and part one, there is no bad album in Dream Theater's catalogue. Obviously, there are some that are a little bit better than others, but what I appreciated about what Dream Theater did during this period was they still stuck to their guns. They stayed true to themselves. They didn't try to compromise or go down a different path. They just stuck to what worked best and still retained all of the classic hallmarks that made Dream Theater one of the greatest progressive metal bands of all time. And some of these albums, for my money, are just excellent. You know, there's some really good music. So we're going to start with the first album, which came out in 2011, and it features the first appearance of Mike Mangini, and this one is called A Dramatic Turn of Events. So this marked not only the first appearance of Mike Mangini on drums, but it also was the first Dream Theater album in the band's history not to feature Mike Portnoy. But I'll tell you something, even though Mike Portnoy is dearly missed on this one, Dream Theater don't miss a beat. They soldier on and put out a classic Dream Theater album, and it still retains all of the hallmarks that made Dream Theater one of the greatest progressive metal bands ever. And there's some great music as well. Everybody is on point, everyone is on top musical form. James LaBrie vocally sounds incredible. Jordan Rudess is slaying it on the keyboards. John Petrucci and John Myung are just ripping it up on guitars and bass. And Mike Mangini, for his first appearance, he just absolutely kicks ass on the drums and doesn't sound like the new boy. He sounds like he's been in the band for years, and he sounds absolutely amazing. And the musicianship, the playing, the compositions, the lyrics, everything is excellent. And I wouldn't expect anything but the absolute best from Dream Theater, who have always proved that they can get the job done no matter what. And this is a very strong album and really proved to everyone that even though they lost Mike Portnoy, which was a devastating blow, they soldiered on and delivered an excellent album. I love this one. Great, strong album and a fine debut for Mike Mangini, in my opinion. And I got to hear Dream Theater play some tracks from this album, and it sounded fantastic. It really did. I really enjoyed this one a lot. So let's have a look, shall we? So there we are. Now, on the cover of Black Clouds and Silver Linings, if you look very closely at the door opening, you can see the cover of this. So obviously, this album was intended to have Mike Portnoy on drums, but obviously with him leaving, they had to completely change everything. So, you know, what can you do really? But still sounds great nonetheless. So we've got the lyrics here and some cool artwork. And there we are, some more lyrics as well. And there we are, some more cool artwork and lyrics. And there they are, the new Dream Theater with Mike Mangini in the band. Cool shot of the guys. And there's some more cool artwork and more lyrics. One thing I've always loved about Dream Theater, I've always loved their artwork. Very, very impressive. There we are, some more lyrics and cool artwork as well. I do love that. That is incredible. Great stuff. And some more there as well. Brilliant, brilliant artwork. And we got the credits and production notes as well. But overall, a fine album. from Dream Theater, and I wouldn't expect anything but the best. So we've got the first track, On the Backs of Angels, which is a kick-ass opener, great song. Then we got Build Me Up, Break Me Down, which is brilliant. Lost, Not Forgotten, which is like 10 minutes long, it's excellent. This Is the Life is brilliant. Bridges in the Sky, one of my all-time favourites from this album. I absolutely love it. Outcry is excellent, which is another 11-minute plus long song. Far From Heaven is great. Breaking All Illusions is excellent, which is like 12 minutes long. And Beneath the Surface, which is brilliant as well. But all of the tracks, got all the epics as well. Great songs from top to bottom. And, you know, what more can you ask for from Dream Theater? An absolute brilliant album. So the standout tracks for me are On the Backs of Angels, Lost Not Forgotten, Bridges in the Sky, Outcry, Far From Heaven, and Breaking All Illusions. But the whole album is just excellent and a great showcase for Mike Mangini on drums, who was the newest member of the band when this album was made, and he does an excellent job and a great first appearance for the newest member of Dream Theater. Everybody's on top form. Everybody really stands out. No weak links whatsoever, and they do what they always do best: soldier on and deliver. So there you have it, a dramatic turn of events, a great way to kick off the new chapter for Dream Theater. Excellent start. Absolutely love this one. Great. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2013, and this one is simply called Dream Theater. So this marks the first time in the band's history that they put out their own self-titled album, and quite surprised that they never done this years ago, but better late than never. Excellent album and a great follow-up to a dramatic turn of events. Mike Mangini is well and truly established in the band, and the band continue to be a major force in the progressive metal genre. And this album, for me, is absolute kick-ass and features some excellent material and some great playing from everyone. I think this was one of the band's strongest albums and a great follow-up to their last album, A Dramatic Turn of Events. I thought this was really good. So let's have a look, shall we? That's pretty cool, actually. I do like that. So there is the track listing. And cool artwork and lyrics. And some more cool artwork and lyrics. I do like that. That's pretty cool. I like that one a lot. Some more cool artwork there. Nice shot of the guitar. I like that. Looks like the bat signal. Looks like it's Gotham City as well. I think that's pretty cool. Here we are. Cool shot of the city there. Nice summary picture there. Absolutely gorgeous. I like that one as well. That's pretty cool. Got more lyrics as well. That's a pretty cool shot as well. And nice shot of all the birds. And there they are, the badasses themselves. Cool shot of the band. Excellent stuff. Great. Absolutely brilliant. So we've got the first track, which is called False Awakening Suite, which is made up of 3 parts: Sleep Paralysis, Night Terrors, and Lucid Dream. Then we got the kick-ass The Enemy Inside, which is a brilliant track. Then we got The Looking Glass, which is great. The Enigma Machine is a great track as well. The Bigger Picture, absolutely amazing. Behind the Veil, another kick-ass track. Surrender to Reason is brilliant. Along for the Ride is great. And then we got the 22-minute epic Illumination Theory, which is made up of 5 parts. Paradox de la Lumière Noire, Live, Die, Kill, The Embracing Circle, The Pursuit of Truth, and Surrender, Trust, and Passion. Excellent album, some amazing material, some great vocals from James LaBrie, kick-ass drumming from Mike Mangini, great keyboard work from Jordan Rudess, and John Petrucci and John Myung just ripping it up as always on guitars and bass. And this is a really tight album, and these guys just absolutely shooting their load. They're just going for it and just not holding anything back, and it's absolutely amazing. And the standout tracks for me are The Enemy Inside, which is one of my favourite tracks from this album, Illumination Theory, Surrender to Reason, The Looking Glass, The Bigger Picture, and Behind the Veil. Excellent tracks, but the whole album from top to bottom is just mind-blowingly good. And these guys are just red hot and just really going for it, and just the muscular sound, very impressive. So there you have it, Dream Theater, self-titled, excellent album, and a great follow-up to A Dramatic Turn of Events. Absolutely love this one, very enjoyable, love it. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2016, and it's a double album, and this one is called The Astonishing. So The Astonishing is made up of 2 discs, and it features a total of 34 songs. So we've got 20 songs on disc 1 and 14 songs on disc 2, and it's made up of 2 acts. And this is a very long album and very impressive, and it's a true testament to Dream Theater's ability. They're not afraid of taking chances, and they're not afraid of trying out new things. And with The Astonishing, it's no exception. And I got to see Dream Theater on this tour, and I got to see them play The Astonishing in its entirety, both discs, and it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen any band do. Just playing the whole album in its entirety from start to finish was absolutely impressive. Now, in terms of the concept, it's a little bit on the futuristic side. Imagine Blade Runner meeting Game of Thrones, that sort of thing. But I still quite enjoyed it, But to some people, this album might be a bit too long. But as I said, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. Obviously, there are some sections that are a little bit better than others, but you know, it's a challenge. I think with any prog band, whether it's progressive rock or progressive metal, when they say that they're going to do a double album concept, you think, oh boy, this is going to be quite a trip. But, you know, Dream Theater are one of the few bands that could pull this off. I mean, James LaBrie, he really got tested here vocally, but he really stepped up to the plate. He really stepped his vocal ability, and as I said, I got to see Dream Theater play The Astonishing in its entirety, and I thought James LaBrie put on one of the greatest vocal performances I've ever seen him put on. He just sounded absolutely incredible. He was on top form. Jordan Rudess on this album, yes, there's a lot of keyboards. He has a huge presence on this album. But, when you're doing a concept album, you're going to have lots of keyboards, with all like interludes and different sections and different passages. So I expected the keyboards to play a huge role. And Jordan Rudess, he has never sounded better than he did here. And some people said, oh, The Astonishing is just a Jordan Rudess solo album. No, it's not. It's a Dream Theater album. Does Jordan Rudess have a big part? Absolutely. And he sounds great. John Petrucci shredding it up as always on guitar. John Myung and Mike Mangini, although they do sound great, they're a little bit low in the mix, just a little bit. I thought they sounded better live when they played this, but on the album, still sound great, but maybe just a tad bit low and not as upfront as they were on previous albums, but still very enjoyable nonetheless. So let's have a look, shall we? Oh, it's very majestic. Okay, so here we are. There's the map, and there's the city in the future, and there's like the lyrics which like make up Act 1, and got the lyrics here as well, and more lyrics here too. And we are. Some more lyrics here as well. There we go. And some more lyrics. And more lyrics too. There is the characters of this story. Yeah, they're the characters as well. And there we are. Quite puzzling. No picture of the band. So tracks we got on disc 1, which make up Act 1, we've got Descent of the Nomax, which is a great opener. Dystopian Overture is excellent. The Gift of Music, which is one of my favourite tracks from disc 1. The Answer is great. A Better Life is good. Lord Nefarious is great. A Saviour in the Square is good. When Your Time Has Come is great. Act of Faith is good. 3 Days is excellent. The Hovering Sojourn is brilliant. Brother Can You Hear Me is great. A Life Left Behind is excellent. Raven Skill is one of my favourite tracks from this album. Chosen is great. The Tempting Offer is excellent. Digital Discord is great. The X Aspect is great. A New Beginning is brilliant. And The Road to Revolution is a great closer to disc 1. So excellent first disc. Some great standouts on Act 1. And then we go over to Act 2. On disc 2, we've got 2285 Etra Acte, which is a great opener. Moment of Betrayal is brilliant. Heaven's Cove is excellent. Begin Again is great. The Path That Divides is one of my favourite tracks. Machine Chatter is another great track I enjoy. The Walking Shadow is brilliant. My Last Farewell is very soulful. Losing Faith is brilliant. Whispers on the Wind is great. Hymn of a Thousand Voices is excellent. Our New World, which is one of the best tracks on disc 2, and Power Down is great. And then we got the closer, Astonishing. I think for me, both discs are very enjoyable, but I think disc 1 is maybe a little bit more stronger than disc 2, but still very enjoyable nonetheless. And as I said, it's a very long album, and one you've really got to have the right frame of mind to listen to. But I found this album very enjoyable, and as I said, it's a concept album, so you're going to expect lots of different shifts and changes, and you've got to have some patience. But there's some excellent material on here, some great playing from everyone, and I think vocally, James LaBrie has never sounded better than he does here. I just think he's on fine form, as are the whole band. But I think the two standout musicians of this entire album is Jordan Rudess and James LaBrie. I think they sound absolutely amazing, both vocally and musically. So the standout tracks for me on disc 1 are The Gift of Music, A Saviour in the Square, A Life Left Behind, Raven Skill, Chosen, A Tempting Offer, A New Beginning, and The Road to Revolution. And standout tracks for me on disc 2 are Moment of Betrayal, Heaven's Cove, Our New World, Power Down, and Astonishing. But I think the whole album, both discs from top to bottom, is remarkably strong and very well executed. And as I said, I got to see them on this tour play the whole Astonishing, both discs in their entirety, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. One of the greatest things I've seen a band ever do, just play the whole concept album from start to finish. And I thought that maybe we would have got a couple of encores after, but that was it. That was the show. The whole album from start to finish played in its entirety. Brilliant. One of the best shows I've ever seen. So there you have it. Dream Theater, The Astonishing. Excellent album and a great follow up to the band's self titled album. Tremendous stuff. Love it. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2019, and this one is called Distance Over Time. So after the massive double album that was The Astonishing, Dream Theater return with a different kind of album. They decide to go the more shorter song route, and I don't see anything wrong with that because when you've done a massive album like The Astonishing, which was 2 discs, massive concept album, I don't blame Dream Theater for going down this path because, sometimes you just need a breather, you just need a break. So a lot of the songs here are quite relatively short for Dream Theater standards, so you don't really have the massive epics that was featured on previous albums. But there's still a couple of songs that are a little bit longer than normal, which are like 8 minutes long, 7 minutes long, and the longest track on this album is like 9 minutes. But the rest of the songs, they're like 6 to 4 minutes long, and that's fine. But still, I think with Dream Theater, they just decided to make a classic metal album. No mad concept involved or no epic lengths, just good old fashioned, hard hitting songs. And you know what? It works just fine with me, and it's still a great album, excellent production. The band sound great as always. Everybody's on top form and very enjoyable. There's some great material on here. So let's have a look, shall we? It's a cool shot of the band. Love that. So here we go. Let's have a look. Very, very ominous picture there. I love that. It's a cool shot of the cracked glass. Absolutely gorgeous artwork there. Very, very sad picture there, actually. Spooky. Love it. Nice shot of the guys. Cool stuff there. Nice. Very cold. And a very ominous picture there. Reminds me of Silent Hill, actually. Nice, gorgeous shot of the beach. Cool picture there. Very, very good. Great artwork as always. Love it. So we've got Untethered Angel, which is a great opener. Paralyzed is another great track. Fall Into the Light is excellent. Barstool Warrior is great. Room 137 is good. S29 is great. At Wit's End is one of my favourite tracks off this album. Out of Reach is another great track. Pale Blue Dots is a great track. And the bonus track, Viper King, is brilliant. As I said, although a lot of the songs are quite short, still kick-ass Dream Theater and some great material as well. And the standout tracks for me are Untethered Angel, Fall Into the Light, Barstool Warrior, At Wit's End, Pale Blue Dot, and the bonus track Viper King. And the whole album from top to bottom is just excellent, really enjoyable, and everybody, as you'd expect, on top form. So there you have it. Distance Over Time, a great follow-up to The Astonishing, and a nice change of pace for the band. Excellent stuff. Love it. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2021, and this one is called A View from the Top of the World. Now, as far as recent Dream Theater albums are concerned, in terms of production wise, this for me is probably the best sounding album I've ever heard from Dream Theater. And a lot of that is thanks to a certain gentleman who you all know by the name Andy Sneap, who is currently the touring guitarist with legendary heavy metal band Judas Priest. And he mixed and engineered this album, and he done a fantastic job. Dream Theater have never sounded better than they do on this one. The production is so slick, so crisp, and so sheen. Everything about it. The drums sound great, the guitars, the bass, the keyboards, the vocals, everything is on point. Now, I'm not knocking the previous albums because I know John Petrucci produced a couple of the previous albums. They sounded fine, they sounded great, but Andy Sneap, damn, he done a really good job. It's like he polished the Dream Theater car and made it brand new. And wow, these guys really sound on fire. And mega props to Andy Sneap. He done an excellent job. 10 out of 10 on production and mixing. He really made the band sound excellent. So let's have a look, shall we? So let's see what we got. I like that. That's a pretty cool cover there. Nice shot of the band, the giant tarantula. There's the lyrics. And we got more lyrics here as well. Cool shot of the guys. Another cool shot of the guys. And there he is, Mangini. Great shot of him as well. And the production notes as well. But for me, out of this portion of Dream Theater's catalogue, this is probably the strongest album they have ever put out. Not just because of Andy Sneap's mixing and production skills, but I just think the band just sound incredible. They really were on fire, really hitting their stride, and I think they've never sounded better than they do here. I think everybody really came to play, brought their A game, and just kicked ass. They really did. So we got the first track, The Alien, which is a kick-ass opener. Answering the Call is an excellent track. Invisible Monster is brilliant. Sleeping Giant is great. Transcending Time is another great track. Awaken the Master is great. And then we got the 20-minute epic, which is the title track, A View from the Top of the World. But although there's only 7 tracks, they're all kick-ass, they're all great, and I absolutely love it. I just think Dream Theater, by this point, really showed that they still got a lot to offer, and this lineup have never sounded better than they do here. James LaBrie, great vocals, great keyboard playing from Jordan Rudess, excellent guitar playing from John Petrucci, brilliant bass work from John Myung, who really sounds up front in the mix, lots of bass playing. He's all over this album. And Mike Mangini, the drumming on here is just absolutely incredible. He just sounds absolutely amazing. And the standout tracks for me are The Alien, Sleeping Giants, Transcending Time, and the 20-minute epic, the title track, A View from the Top of the World. Excellent album, and wow, just unbelievable stuff. And this album would mark the final appearance of Mike Mangini, as he would leave the band after playing with Dream Theater for 13 years. And this would mark the return of founding member and original drummer Mike Portnoy, who would return to the fold, and thus reuniting the classic lineup of Dream Theater. But Mike Mangini's contributions are not one to be sniffed at. For 13 years, he not only filled the shoes of Mike Portnoy, but he done an amazing job behind the drums and really helped carry the band and took them on to major success. So mega props to Mike Mangini. He did a fantastic job and gave them great success and a Grammy Award as well. So while I'm very pleased to have Mike Portnoy back in the band, of course, special thank you to Mike Mangini for all of the great years and great work he done with Dream Theater. So there you have it, a view from the top of the world. Excellent album and a great way to close out the final chapter with Mike Mangini. Love it. So, which Dream Theater album from 2011 to 2021 do I think is the best one? Well, as I said before, there's no bad album in Dream Theater's catalogue. They're all great. I love A Dramatic Turn of Events. I love Dream Theater. I love The Astonishing. I love Distance Over Time. I love A View from the Top of the World. I think they're all fantastic albums. But if I had to choose one, which I think is the best one from this period, I definitely have to go with A View from the Top of the World. I think this was the best sounding album. The material was very strong. The playing, the musicianship, the production, Andy Sneap's mixing skills, everything about it. I just think this was a very strong album. Even though it's only got 7 tracks, I just think they sound really good. And sometimes you don't always need to have lots of tracks to make a good album. Sometimes you only need 6 or 7, and they could be great. And, I'm not knocking any of the other previous albums. They're all great in their own way, but I think this one for me, A View from the Top of the World, really stands out on his own. And even though I didn't know at the time that this was Mangini's final album, he just sounded absolutely amazing on this album, as do the rest of the guys. I just think everybody really brought their A game, and I just think musically they have never sounded better than they do here. So there you have it. Dream Theater, A View from the Top of the World. For me, the best album from 2011 to 2021. Tremendous album and probably the band's best album from this lineup. So there you have it. A View from the Top of the World. Excellent stuff. Love it. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite Dream Theater album from 2011 to 2021? Is it A Dramatic Turn of Events, Dream Theater, The Astonishing, Distance Over Time, or A View from the Top of the World? There's no right or wrong answer. We all have our favourite albums. You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Progressive Rock and Metal album review series, where I will return with the fourth and final part of this 4-part special, where I am going to be taking a look at Dream Theater's official live recordings. So make sure you don't miss that. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.